Blog Talk Radio.
Hi everybody. As you can see, this is not Chrism, or as you can hear, this is Amelia Santara, and I'd like to welcome you all to today's conversation with Chrism, and Chrism will be joining us shortly. There's been a little technical hitch, so I'm beginning the show until he comes online on the phone. So in the meantime, I would like to welcome everybody. I'd like to welcome Vincent and Mary Jean and everybody there in the chat show, in the chat room. Again, as Chrism does every week, I would appreciate if you would let me know, guys, if you can. Oh, Vincent is gone. Mary Jean, can you let me know if the sound is okay? Hi, Vincent. Welcome back. Just type there, please, that the sound is coming through okay, and I will continue. I'm watching the studio phone here, and I'd like to welcome everybody who's listening. Mary Jean, thank you. So the sound is okay. I'd like to welcome everybody who's listening, and I'd like to welcome Elizabeth as well. I can see you're there, Elizabeth. And if Chrism doesn't come on soon, I'll be coming over there to say hi to you and see if you have anything this week from Aranya, and maybe you could begin a little early. But just to begin with, I'm going to start with letting everybody know where they can go if they would like to make a donation to the work that Chrism does. As you know by now, I say every week that there's absolutely no pressure on anybody who's listening, either live or in the archives, to donate. But at the same time, all donations are greatly, greatly appreciated. And it goes towards supporting all of us, really, because in giving donations, we are supporting the work that Chrism does in all the various venues that he does it. So here is the website. It's www.chrism-kundalini.blogspot.com, www.chrism-kundalini.blogspot.com. And so you can go there, and there's a donate button, and it is really very, very easy to donate once you get there. There's other ways to donate as well, such as Western Union, and there's a bank account. So if somebody would prefer to donate in that way, you can drop me a line, and I can give you the details rather than calling them all out now. Just write to me at kundalinimatters@gmail.com. And so here we go, guys. There's absolutely no sign of Chrism yet, and I am welcoming Elizabeth, and I'm seeing another number here. I wonder, could that be Chrism? I'm just going to say I don't think so, but let me just go over just in case it is. Hi, caller, you're live on air. I'm just checking in case this is Chrism. Hello? 321, no? Okay, I'm going to put you back on listening. Obviously, it's not Chrism. So I'm going to go over, and I'm going to bring Elizabeth on. Hi, Elizabeth.
Hi.
Elizabeth. Hi. Have you been here?
I can't.
Yeah, go ahead.
Chrism. Oh, I was just going to tell you, I thought I heard Chrism just say something right when you came over to me.
Oh, let's go and check. I'm leaving you live on air. I'm not putting you in the blue, so
okay.
I'm going back to that number. One moment. Hello? Chrism, is that you?
Who are you calling? Sometimes this is Jeannie. Are you coming through here?
Jeannie, you must have got bumped off and you're back again. Okay, I'm putting you back on listening, Jeannie.
That's what happened. Sorry.
Oh, no worries. Thanks, Jeannie.
Okay.
No worries. Thank you.
Okay.
Okay, so no, he's not on.
Oh, okay. Okay, that's so weird. I could have. sworn I heard a man's voice speaking for a second, but it might have just been me.
Ha ha! It was just you.
Yeah, I'm hearing things.
So it's just the two of us for now until Chrism comes on, Elizabeth. So maybe we can have a chat. Do you want to?
Okay.
First of all, is there anything that you want to share? Anything that has happened during the week, or that Aranya would like? Yeah, go ahead.
It's been a fairly, for me, introspective kind of a week, kind of quiet, kind of everything just coming down to very, quiet stillness this week. But she did speak to me several times about wanting everyone to know about the levels of divine support and divine protection that we receive from the divine, and how much that we are supported and protected by the divine within us in our equations, even though sometimes, with entities or whatever, anything that's a struggle with pain, with whatever the Kundalini is allowing to happen or giving, she wants us to know that the divine love and support is still there. It never leaves. It allows for a time or for the person's karma or their equation in order for them to experience soul growth in certain areas. Things will be allowed, but at the same time, how then do we trust that we are being protected? And, because we do trust in that. And so, I don't know, maybe we could talk about that, about in difficult times, knowing and trusting that our Kundalini has that protection there for us, and that the things that are happening are either trying to get us to see something through pain, through a rash, through, it might be something about our eating habits or something about the way we're taking care of ourselves, or it's almost always, I've noticed, something that I need to change. Little adjustment, this might not be the best, but at the same time, I guess what she's saying is still fully trusting and knowing that whatever is happening, first of all, if you were to need help in these areas, suddenly you would receive help. A teacher would come along, something would come along to help you, people who have experienced those types of things, but it wouldn't take you necessarily out of the experience of having those. But then once the lesson is learned or comes across to you, then something will suddenly happen as you're surrendering and trusting to help you out of that.
So it's like, I think what you're saying, well, what I've experienced is, discomfort or struggling or emotional pain, and that when that is going on, for me to know, particularly when it's a really difficult one, Elizabeth, isn't it to know that whatever is going on is within the context of things that I need to really face and trust that what is happening is within my process. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, and I guess she's just saying you need to, go, if something like that's happening, be still, go and meditate, do your mantra, say Om, whatever connects you to your inner divine, and be trusting and feel that the support is there, that the love and support is there, even though it may not always seem like it is. And when, yeah, that's quite amazing, isn't it? Because I remember, particularly at the beginning of the process, when you're going through that, and it takes a while to, well, it did for me anyway, I don't know about you, Elizabeth, but it takes a while to realize, trust, and to go into that place where,
Yeah, but still, the more it happens, the more you know as you're going into it. Yes. Doesn't
and easier to get back. Yeah.
It does because. Go ahead.
No, go ahead.
Yeah, no, I'm saying the cycles
I'm letting a barking dog out. Yeah.
The cycles of that, it's not that they're individually easier sometimes, but it's that you know that within the context of them happening that you absolutely can trust. Sometimes they can even be harder than they were a few years ago, sometimes depending on what's been given for me to self-correct or to change. But what I can do is I can trust. That's something that has become easier for me through I suppose the repeating pattern. Would you say the same? Yeah?
Yeah, and I think that's what she's saying is keep, no matter how, it seems another way, keep trusting, keep surrendering to that and just feeling and knowing that you're protected because we don't always think of that. We start thinking, oh, why me? Why is this happening? Why, or not realizing, sometimes you get a rash or something and you're just thinking, oh, it's just a Kundalini, it's just a rash. But you still have to trust that your ego needs to look deeper and figure out why, because it could be something you're ingesting, something you're, that you need to change. Rather than just that's, it's always like some big, like seemingly mystery, but you just keep, looking into it and suddenly there it is,
Yeah, or sometimes as well, Elizabeth, I would say, I've done this already, hello,
Yeah.
Haven't I this done already?
Exactly.
And something comes back up again. And you're kind of going,
and then I'm thinking, well, so then did I not change it enough? Is there something more that I need? So it's like this back and forth thing. But I guess she just wants to not to lose, no matter how long this goes on, because it's going to go on for the rest of your life. Always to come back to the support and love. Yeah.
Fantastic. Yeah. And sometimes the layers have to be done little by little, so they'll come back again because there's more clearing or there's, hold on. I think we have Chrism.
Aha.
Hello, Chrism.
Hello.
Hello, Chris. Hi, Chrism. Hi, you're on air.
Hi.
Welcome.
Oh, okay. Having some technical difficulties, folks. My apologies. And so, what have you been talking about, everybody?
Well, Elizabeth is here, and herself. I was asking her. We were talking really about, how trusting in the Kundalini and that she was saying what Aranya was telling her this week and was helping her with this week. So we were talking about that trusting things when they're uncomfortable, knowing. Yeah. So that was it. So,
Jesus.
Yeah.
Okay. Oh. Huge. Well, you guys go ahead and just talk, and I'll listen.
Well, that's all we were saying, and we were kind of done, but it was just about divine support and love and being divinely protected within each of our equations, even though sometimes things happen and you are thinking, you just have to keep going back to that trust, keep going back to, she was just pointing out, always go back to the divine support and protection and know that is there regardless of whether certain things are allowed to happen within that, whether it be entities or painful things or rashes or just a few of the things we brought up inside of your equation where you have the tendency to forget, I guess, to trust and go back to that love, go back to the support, and just to always, always feel that, the divine support.
Agreed. Trust is huge. But, it's easy to say that. It's easy to say trust when you're not in the middle of having your life fall apart due to the Kundalini. Yep. You can say, oh, trust the Kundalini, trust the Kundalini, trust the Kundalini. But, people when they're seeing their life fall apart, or they have an injury, or, some sort of a thing, and, it's very difficult to reach into that area of trust. And what does Lorania say about that as far as going into areas of trust in the midst of a destruction of your life?
Well, and she's saying because at those moments, all your ego can think about is the pain or the loss or the loneliness or these things. You're grasping on to your, physical. And so, again, she's saying go into meditation. Say, if you don't have a mantra, say Om. She's just saying divine protection. Go into that and realize that things are occurring or allowed to occur with the divine support and protection is still intact. You need to find out what you might be doing that you need to change or alter or what direction, you don't have to know exactly what direction or what the divine agenda is, but just know that somewhere within that there is a level of protection and love and support that is never ending. But you're so busy in your outer thing, you're not paying attention. You're paying attention to, oh my God, why is this happening? I'm my skin's peeling off, or my whatever it is that you're not wanting to go into trust with at the moment.
Agreed.
Yeah, I suppose. Yeah, one of the things that I would have found as well is that trust builds on trust. So let's say, going way back, it's not that things might be necessarily, I was saying this earlier, it's not necessarily that something gets easier, because when you're within the turmoil and let's say the discomfort and the pain or the struggle of something that's going on within my equation, but the trust can still be there because it has been built on, and because the Kundalini has shown me through the experience of trust and trusting that the Kundalini is to be trusted no matter what I'm going through. So I think that's something that grows through a process. Well, that would be my experience, Chrism. Hello? Uh-oh.
Hello, I'm here.
Oh, good.
Oh, you're there?
It's really hard to talk when there's three of us. So because I've got some sort of a lag time here on my phone. So yeah, trust is huge. Trust is a huge deal. And I like the idea of, sitting down and saying a mantra, but you know what? Sometimes the emotions get so strong, and the person's cascading, emotions, and then adding more emotions to those cascading emotions, and creating a huge waterfall of emotions, that it's very, very difficult for them to just sit down and meditate. They're going to have to go through levels of expressive emotional outburst before they can ever get near saying Om or saying their mantra or things of that nature. And it is... Hello? What was that? Hello. Here, I'm just going to try this here. All right. So when you have like a DNS, dark night soul, and don't think that you only get one dark night soul. You can have a lot of dark night souls. And it depends on the person's equation and how they're handling it. Are they resisting it? Do they constantly resist, and resist? And then the dark night soul comes to them, and what is their only other option? Well, the only thing they know to do is to resist. And it's very important for people to understand that you're going to have to change in some way. You don't get to just keep resisting and resisting and resisting without changing your methodology, without changing your approach. It's very important for people to understand that they must change their approach. I tell this to students over and over and over again, and they just don't. Some of them, I should say. Some of them just don't hear it. They just don't hear it that way. So, oh, my God, how do I change the person that I am? How do I change my personality? And it's like Elizabeth and Santara were saying. You have got to trust it. You've got to trust the Kundalini. You can't really expect it to. It will protect you. It will help you, but it won't do the work for you. You see, that's a very important caveat for people to understand, is that Kundalini will help you. It will give you instruction. It will do many, many things for you, but it won't lift your finger. Well, actually, sometimes it will. Sometimes it will force you to do certain things. It will force you to quit your job, or it will force you to do certain things, or it will just make things not work out for you. You won't be able to get a job. You won't be able to find a house. You won't be able to do some of these things, but it won't be directly, physically attributable, typically, to the Kundalini, although that does sometimes occur as well. So it's very important for people to understand that they must make changes. They don't get to just continue to resist the Kundalini. And as they continue to resist the Kundalini, they don't just get to expect that all good things will happen. Because it's not. It won't. It will not happen that way. As you resist the Kundalini, things will get worse and worse and worse, typically. Whereas as you surrender to the Kundalini, or you go with the flow of the Kundalini river, then miraculously beautiful, wonderful, happy things happen for the person. Miraculous, beautiful, wonderful, blissful, loving, connected. When you are able to flow with the Kundalini, it is such a beautiful, wonderful, happy experience. And I really want to really lay that out for people, because it is, even though, we're talking about the difficult aspects of it, well, it's not all difficulty unless you resist. And, that's really where the rubber meets the road, in this equation. Is it's like, the Kundalini comes to you, you've either sought it and it's come, or it's come to you out of the blue. Either way, you're going to have to surrender yourself to the changes that it's bringing to you. You may not understand it at all. It may just be like crazy land every day. You may be pushed to the right. You may be pulled to the left. You may be pushed forward. You may be pulled backwards, up, down, all around. It's going to be crazy anyway. But it's going to be crazier if you resist. And that craziness will last a lot longer. And it will age you, and it will, it'll start working on your immune system if you're continuously resisting. Your immune system is going to take a hit. It is so incredibly important for people to understand how resistance corrupts the physical system. It's so amazingly important for people to understand how beautiful the Kundalini is, when you don't resist it, when you give yourself to the Kundalini, when you allow it to work its agenda within you, when you allow it to really, really help you become that amazing semi-God person that you are meant to be in real time in a physical being. But, people coming from limited consciousness, limited awareness, they don't understand that. All they know is that, wow, this isn't what I expected. I expected to, be able to read people's minds and be able to fly and have all the money I want and to be able to, have the right man or woman come to me, have the perfect life because I've got Kundalini, and oh my God, I shouldn't have to do any work at all, no changes, except all the good ones. And that's not realistic. That is not realistic for Kundalini awakening people. Kundalini is expanding your awareness, but in order to expand your awareness, you have to accept what that expansion is bringing to you. You're not having your awareness expanded to fit your egocentric wishes and desires. No, that all gets changed unless you resist. And then, of course, if you resist, then you're going to come into a very, very difficult level of experience with the Kundalini. And I'm going to bring the ladies back on. And there we have Santara, and there we have Elizabeth. Would you agree?
Absolutely.
I guess Santara is not there for the moment. Okay. We'll go back there. So, yeah. Back there and go back there. I'm trying to work the switchboard, everybody, when I'm, and it's a little flaky. I want to thank Santara, Amelia Santara, for starting the show today. And I'd like to thank Elizabeth and Loranda for bringing their insights and their abilities into it, as well as Amelia Santara's as well. If you have any questions, I think you can call the number. I think I can respond to it. It's the area code 347, and then it's 934-0026. So 347-934-0026. And I see we have people from Minnesota, California, Florida, Washington State, and, of course, the Emerald Isle in the calling. And I see a lot of people there in the chat room. Hello, everybody there. Thank you for your patience. And I'd like to say a special thank you to Vincent, who is helping the Kundalini Awakening Systems become more expansive upon the internet. So I want to really give a shout out to Vincent there, who is doing great, by the way. He's an amazingly lovely individual, and I want to say a thank you to him. Let's see. It looks like Santara might be back. Are you back?
Yes, Chrism, I didn't go away. I was trying to keep 3 voices, just leave us at 2.
I see. Okay, yeah, it's kind of hard.
Yeah.
It's kind of hard because everybody has something to say. Now, do you have anything to add to what I've been saying about surrendering to the Kundalini and how great it can be when you do surrender, and how more challenging it can be if you don't?
Yeah, of course. I mean, the thing about resisting or not surrendering is, what I would have found is that, my ego doesn't see it that way to begin with, I don't see that I'm resisting, so I'm not, but I am, of course, but I don't see that, and that's what causes the emotional pain, or that's what causes the physical stuff that goes on in my body. And then I come into an awareness that I'm resisting. And, it can be really hard, Chrism, because there's a lot of things that are going on that, are so amazingly beautiful as well. And sometimes that, this sounds silly, but sometimes the amazingly beautiful things can be difficult as well, because you're still living with mundane stuff. So, when you're feeling bliss, when you're feeling amazing phenomena, it can be very challenging then to live and to just be in the ordinary everyday stuff. And I guess, is that a form of resistance as well, or is it just a matter of coming into acclimatizing to it? If that makes sense. Am I making sense? I mean, sometimes it can be difficult when things are wonderful, which doesn't sound right.
Yeah,
I find it that way.
Especially when when you're when you're inside. I like what you said about the fact that you still have the mundane stuff as you're going through the Kundalini work as well, and that is amazingly true. It's definitely true. You don't get away from it so easily. So it takes a special level of prioritization, I feel. And as you have that prioritization, you're able to sort of compartmentalize what is certainly the mundane, and then, of course, what is the strange and the new and the beautiful and the sometimes crazy. How is that coming through? And it gives you a level of preparation that allows you to deal with things in a way that has a kind of a logic line to it. So, for instance, you got to go to work, but you're having kriyas. So the work would be the mundane, and the kriyas would be the crazy. And so as you go to work, you ask the Kundalini if she will pull back from the kriyas while you're at work. And typically, not always, but typically that works. But if it doesn't work, so you've got the kriyas, you're going to work, and you're having to hide the kriyas from your workmates and from perhaps your supervisor or your boss, and maybe go into the bathroom and have the kriyas there in the bathroom. I mean, you have to learn how to work with this rather than resist it because it's irritating to you or it's getting in the way of your life. It's very important for you to understand that if you're not resisting the Kundalini, things are getting much better for you, much better for you. If you are resisting, it's very difficult for an individual.
Yeah,
Go ahead.
Yeah, and becoming acclimatized to the expanded awareness that the Kundalini is bringing, Chrism. That would be part of the surrender, wouldn't it?
To become acclimated to what the Kundalini is bringing? Well, really, I mean, there are two ways a person can become acclimated to the Kundalini that I can think of right off the top of my head. And one is direct surrender to it. I mean, recognition that it's there, that the changes are being made, and surrendering to it completely right now in real time. The other way is a much longer process where you're constantly beaten down. Your life is eroded. Your body's corrupted. Your immune system is being attacked. There are all kinds of really, really difficult things happening to you. And yet you're still alive, you're still able to walk around, hopefully, and do all of these things. And then finally, after so many years of this abuse, finally something in your egocentrism says, enough. I'm just going to surrender. And boom, you're acclimated, but, you've got a lot of healing to do now. A lot of healing and that's the much more painful way to go. If you're looking at the Kundalini, and you're moving with the Kundalini, and you're allowing her, and she's moving with you, and you're in agreement to having strong levels of change happen to you, it's very important for a person to understand that things will go so much better. Oh my God, so much better. Your physical condition improves. Your teeth improve. Your eyes improve. Your hearing improves. The level of aging on your body can actually be reversed by the Kundalini, but only if you surrender to it. And if you're able to do that, oh my gosh, then you're welcoming the grace of the divine within you. You're welcoming what Laranya, I think, was saying. You're able to get yourself out of this amazing level of hurt that resisting the Kundalini can bring. And as I was saying earlier, as your life is falling apart and you're in the middle of, the fire is burning you, and you're not in a position where you can sit down and meditate. Okay, you've got to act right now, and when you have that occurring, you just go straight to the Shakti and ask her to help you. She will help you.
And that's trusting. That's trusting, isn't it?
Trusting. That is trusting. Well,
yeah.
I don't know. It's trusting is like a last move. It's like, God, you've worked yourself into a very, very difficult situation through the resistance. And I don't know if it's trusting. I think it's kind of a last resort. But yeah. Ultimately it is trusting, and you've got to trust. You've got to trust what the Kundalini has you do. We have Brooke Robertson, who is a Kundalini activated individual, and Brooke Robertson, was given a very, very strong and sure instruction to move out to California and start learning from this old gray-haired guy about the Kundalini. And she's, this woman, she has a beautiful 3-story house on a river right next to a nice walking path, beautiful lawns, beautiful this and that, a car. She's in the familiar environment, and she's safe, and she's got all of her basic needs taken care of. She's got a nice little pet dog and the whole bit, nice, and then here the Kundalini comes along and says, oh, guess what? You're going to move into this tiny little apartment here in Sonoma County, Santa Rosa, California, where they don't allow you to have an air conditioner when it's 100 degrees outside, or in Celsius, that would be like 42 or 43, somewhere like that. She's got to go from levels of comfort and comprehension into levels of discomfort and incomprehension. And that's a big, big, big step for people to take. And it's, she's handling it well, but, a lot of people don't handle that so well. They don't handle it so well. And it can be a very, very, very difficult scenario. And so where do you do? Where's the trusting in the Kundalini? Well, she had to trust by coming out here, moving her entire house, her whole life, moving it out here and taking up residence in this apartment that the Kundalini found for her, believe it or not. And we've discussed this on other shows. So there's a huge level of trust that people have to make, and they have to trust the Kundalini with their lives, and not just the happiness of their lives, but the sadness of their lives, but not just the easiness of the life, but the difficulty of the life. It's not an easy path if you're resisting. And people naturally resist. I don't want people to think that, well, okay, I'm taking Chrism Shaktipat and I'm going to have the Kundalini, I'm just going to surrender and everything's going to go well. Well, saying and having are two different things. You can say something fairly easy when you don't have it, but when you have the Kundalini, wow, and you're watching your life change right in front of you, and you're being asked to surrender your life, you're being asked to change your job, you're being asked to to get a divorce or to leave your kids. I mean, not with the kid leaving doesn't happen very often. But the relationships will break up. If you're in an abusive relationship or a relationship that isn't serving your Kundalini, oh my gosh, all of a sudden you have the Kundalini now, and she's saying, this is not going to work for you and my child, and I want you to, to begin that process. And, maybe you're really, really happy sort of happy with having your basic needs taken care of, and maybe you don't want to be thrown out into the wind of the universe to try to make your own way by trusting the Kundalini. You see, there's a very big deal there. Now that situation, I think Loranya's advice is the best. Sit down. If you have a mantra, say the mantra. If you don't have a mantra, just say Aum, A-U-M. Just say Aum. Do it that way and really begin to open yourself into the arms of grace, the heart of grace, the love of grace, the love of God that wants you and is calling upon you in no uncertain terms. No uncertain terms. God is calling to you to surrender to the divine as it awakens within you. It looks like we have Yassine Beatrice asking a question. And so here we go. Dear Chrism, my Kundalini wants me to use my right hand for everything. If I tie my left arm and I use only my right hand, how long can it take for this entity to leave me? Thanks for your response. Oh. Well, it can take as long as it takes. Are you resisting it? You have to determine whether you're resisting this or not. Maybe it's just my memory, but I don't recall you having to tie your hand. How do you know it's your Kundalini?
No,
Chrism. What's going on here? Yeah. Did I miss this?
Sorry, I just want. No, you did not. You're correct. Beatrice has never spoken on this topic before.
Oh, thank you. Okay, yeah, well, so Beatrice, there's a lot more going on here that maybe you need to talk about. I don't know anything about what you're saying there, but first of all, you need to determine if it is indeed your Kundalini that is telling you to use your right hand for everything. That is not typical. And if you think you have an entity, why would you think that the Kundalini is communicating to you, not the entity that's couching itself as the Kundalini? So let's get some clarity on that, first of all. And thank you, Santara, for helping me out with that. And so really, folks, I mean, when you trust the Kundalini, when you give yourself to this grace that is coming to you, it's really important for you to understand that you must give yourself on its terms to, let me rephrase it. You must give yourself to God on God's terms. I don't like using the word God so much because I also like to use goddess. But you must give yourself to the Shakti and the Shiva. You must give yourself to sacred male, sacred female. And on their terms, not on the terms of your ego, not on the terms that make you feel more comfortable or more happy or more blissful. Sometimes you're going to have to make changes that go against the grain. And then you have to be just as happy and just as joyful in making those changes, that are perhaps more difficult. And I'm going to come on over here to Elizabeth here and see if Elizabeth, do you have anything to add to that?
No. No. That's all, yeah.
What?
It's all perfect the way you said it. I don't know what to add.
What does Laranya want to add? Anything?
No.
Okay, all right. And I'm going to come on over. Thank you, Laranya. Thank you, Elizabeth. And thank you, Amelia, for tending to Yassine. And I'm going to come over here to Minnesota here and see if there's a question. Hello, Minnesota, 651. Do you have a question?
Do we have a question? Hi, Chrism, it's Rosemary and Joey, and we're going to be.
So you're tag teaming it this evening.
Yes, and we have a meeting at 6, but we didn't want to miss everything. So, thank you. I can identify what you're saying with what I've experienced, not major losing a job or those kinds of things, but just newer things happening around me and perplexing sometimes, and automobile accidents and
Joey chimes in.
Yeah, so that I very much so even in the last couple of weeks of just different things happening that aren't in my understanding of what's important or how things should be.
And how have you trusted your Kundalini within that context?
Well, what I remember in the last week or so, just what I've learned from you to do is to surrendering and trying to keep my mind quiet. And I also will play the CD and have it on a loop and just have that. Sometimes that things will wake me up at night, and then it's difficult sometimes to go back to sleep. And I've gotten just right down on the floor with my pillow and slept by your voice carrying the energy and my own mantra of surrendering. Because yes, it does not make sense to this ego mind or any understanding that I have,
Yeah, a lot of that will occur for a person, and definitely the Kundalini has the ability to calm us and to relax us into maybe not completely understanding what's going on, but certainly not stressing over that lack of understanding.
And knowing that I don't have the answers. I mean, I really don't know sometimes. What am I supposed to do here?
Right. Well, thank you, Joey. Thank you. Oh, go ahead, Rosemary.
No, that was Rosemary. So I'm just saying, from my history in my life of being a teacher, and that's amazing. I mean, no, it's not amazing. It's not surprising that that's my first response, is wanting to understand something.
Agreed. Agreed. Okay. All right. Putting you in the blue here. Thank you both. And bringing Santara back. Are you there? Are you there, Santara?
Yeah, Chrism, I'm here. I'm just thinking there. You said earlier about being in agreement with Kundalini for strong levels of change to happen, and I'm just thinking about myself, and I'm thinking, yes, that like being in agreement with the Kundalini for those strong levels of change to happen, to be surrendered and to be on that, we'll say, that path. And then, within that surrender and the willingness to surrender, suddenly there's an ego amplification. It just happens through however it happens. And I think sometimes in my experience, it's like then a choice opens up. It's like, okay, so this amplification happens, and then it's, okay, I can go further at that point, further into trust and surrender, or follow the ego and where it's resisting. And sometimes when I follow the ego, when I have that emotional outburst or that, frustration or whatever way the resistance is, but then again, the ego becomes, because of the trust and the safeties and the practice and the arming and the other, the self-correction, then what seems to happen is that the ego becomes retrained or reconditioned for a while. And I'm back in that place of, agreement with the Kundalini and surrender, and it's just, and here we go. And I feel the ego has learned, and it is, but then we go along and the same thing happens again for some other reason, and there are layers and layers. But it's like each time it happens through the grace of all the things that helped me, like as Aranya and Elizabeth were saying, in the safeties, to come back into that place of trust and that place of, surrender and willingness and where I want to be and where the Kundalini wants me to be. I've just gone blank. Oh, darn. Okay, Chrism, it's gone.
It's all right. But I think,
did that make sense?
Yeah, it did. It did. But I think that you trust the Kundalini. You're inside the Kundalini. You're having a Kundalini life, and all of a sudden the ego rears its head. Well, all of a sudden, you've been working with the Kundalini all this time, and all of a sudden the Kundalini allows the ego to come in and say, "Oh, I want to poke out my 2 front teeth because that's the style that is currently being embraced by society. It's a fictional style, but that's the style. I want to poke out my 2 front teeth so I can look like a vampire. There we go, Buffy the Vampire Slayer, right, or killer, whatever. So, and then I want to have my incisors sharpened so that I look like a real vampire. You betcha. And you're so, the person is so used to working with the Kundalini and surrendering to the Kundalini that do they recognize the difference between the Kundalini and the ego? You see? Do they recognize that difference? And this comes back to really working towards the healing of things like vanity, things like some of these the 7 deadly sins, I guess, from the Christian standpoint. Is this person dealing with vanity well? Is this person dealing with jealousy well? Is this person dealing with glutton things well? Is this person, where is the person working on these very, very, very strong levels of ego expression? And isn't the Kundalini actually introducing them to that work by allowing the ego to come up and have its voice within a pseudo surrendered life?
Yeah, I hear you. Yeah. That's, I think so, Chrism, and I think so. I mean, I think the most surrendered, I think that's how it is. At least that's how it is for me. That's how it is for me.
Now, Yashin has come back, and they say, I had a dream where I was given instructions to use my right hand for healing and everything. The message came to me by Lord Vishnu. Can you tell me what the dream was about? Thanks. Well, I'm not going to agree with that. First of all, how do you recognize Lord Vishnu? I think that the only divinities you need to be taking instruction from are Shakti or Shiva, not Lord Vishnu. So, and then on the one hand, of course, you can say the right hand for healing and everything. Well, no, because, you're going to need 2 hands to drive a car. You're going to need 2 hands to do a lot of different things. You can use the right hand for healing. I've used my right hand for healing before too, but not for everything. You have 2 hands, and therefore you use both hands. But I think you should be taking instruction from Shakti and Shiva, period. And that's how I'm going to answer that question. And Amelia, because I do need to take care of some things here. I'm going to bring the show just a little bit shorter. Have you been able to collect any questions?
I have, Chrism. I'm going over there now. Okay. They're all from the group. I didn't receive any questions today, so they've been all on the group. Okay. Here we go. Okay, so sometimes it feels like my soul wants to break out of my body. Is this part of Kundalini?
Yeah, it can be, but it's not like an awakening or anything like that. It just means that you're being given a sensation of wanting to burst forward to almost. It's not like an astral projection or an out of body experience. It's kind of like a compelling to really go forward in a very strong way. And the Kundalini can induce that type of thing, but it doesn't by any stretch of the imagination means that the person is in the awakened state at all. It means that they are being galvanized towards that activation, and then from the activation into the awakening. Over.
Thank you. Do you know if Kundalini syndrome symptoms will show up on an EEG? I had one done this week at a neuro hospital because at this point I'm getting full body spasms, mini seizures, muscle tension and pain from the top of my head to the bottom of my feet. Up until now, though, I have only been seen by psychiatrists who aren't taking my physical symptoms seriously. They assert that I'm schizophrenic and it's all a tactile hallucination.
Yeah, that's a typical psychological response. No. No. I kind of got lost with the. Just read the first part of it. Just read the question. Forget about all the other.
Yeah, I'm just reading it. Do you know if Kundalini syndrome symptoms will show up in an EEG?
It will. Yes, it will. If the Kundalini syndrome gives you high blood pressure, well, hello, it's going to show up on the machine. If the Kundalini syndrome is giving you, a very specific brainwave pattern, then yes, it'll show up on the ECG, but not always. You see, this is where the person is panicking. They're panicking. It's like, oh my God, I've got Kundalini syndrome. I got to go to the ER. So off to the ER you go, and they hook you up to the ECG or an EKG, whatever. And oh my gosh, well, Mr. Jones, doesn't look like you have any kind of a problem there. Maybe we should take you to the psychotherapist. And the psychotherapist basically runs through their pattern of tests, which don't recognize any kind of Kundalini, and basically, apply a diagnosis of schizophrenia with bipolar tendencies typically. And this is really bad because this can haunt a person in the United States. If you do that, if you go to the ER and you let yourself be seen by ER physicians that don't believe that you have anything, then on your permanent medical records, that diagnosis of schizophrenia or bipolarism is permanently affixed to your record. And that can be used by employers to discriminate against you. Even though there's a law against it, they'll see it. They'll see it on your medical records if they're allowed to have that level of access, and sometimes they are. And they won't say anything. They just won't hire you. And it's really hard to prove that you have been discriminated against in that type of scenario. So I really, really strongly suggest that, if people feel that they have Kundalini syndrome, don't put yourself in that kind of a situation. My God, you must learn how to surrender and trust the Kundalini. That's the reason why you're having the syndrome in the first place, because you're not trusting. You're not trusting the Kundalini. You're not giving in. You're not willing to change the ego. You're not willing to do these types of things. And until you are willing to do that, you're going to have difficulty. You're going to have difficulty until you're able to look at that and to begin to really understand how that attitude is getting in your way. Over.
Thank you. Today it feels like my thymus and adrenals are on overdrive. Will this energy eventually calm to a less vibratory feeling?
If you hydrate the body and keep your electrolytes active and don't drink caffeine and don't drink colas or sodas or high fructose corn syrup products, if you keep yourself hydrated, if you eat watermelon or coconut water, things of that nature, then yeah, this will pass. This will pass. But the more you stress them out, the longer that's going to take. Over.
Thank you. Okay, so sorry, now, Chrism, there's a very long one which I'm not going to read. So the next one is, I would like to know whether the Kundalini can be transferred to a partner.
Sometimes it can, especially if you're sleeping with them. You know, by that I mean having sex with the partner. It can be transferred to that partner for sure. And sometimes the kids will get it too. If you're a married couple and you have children, well, the children coming in can also have the Kundalini as well. I think you know a bit about that, huh, Santara?
Yeah, Chrism, yeah. But is that not within the dynamic of, everybody being related in the first place within the we'll say, the control of the Kundalini?
I think
the fact
it's all
that I
in
have a
control of the
particular
Kundalini.
husband or I have children or...
I think it's all in the control of the Kundalini. But yeah, if it's just like a boyfriend, girlfriend, it still can be transferred.
Yeah.
It still can be transferred. Over. In just a second, it says, Dear Chrism, this is Yassine Beatrice again. Dear Chrism, can you tell me if my Kundalini is now in my sixth chakra? Yeah, it's in your sixth chakra there. There you go. Sixth chakra. And I'm not lying. There's trace amounts of Kundalini in every chakra. So, Yassine Beatrice, I can definitely tell you it is in your sixth chakra. Is your sixth chakra activated? No. But it is. There's trace amounts of Kundalini in your sixth chakra. There you go. Next question, please, Amelia.
I'm not sure if dreams have anything to do with Kundalini, but is waking up 10 times or more from a dream, in a dream, even possible, before waking up for real? This seems to be happening to me, and it never happened before.
Well, I would have to know more about the dream.
Okay. Yeah, there's no mention of the dream, just the, okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So, Chrism, you wrote an article, and there was a question. No, I'm going to leave that go as well. Okay, so this question is, typically people talk about waking up a lot. This one is how to get over fatigue and change sleep pattern within a Kundalini context. I know you talked about it before, but could you answer it again, please?
How to get over what?
Fatigue within a Kundalini context.
Well, you stop drinking any kind of a stimulant like caffeine that you're using to keep you going with it, basically causing adrenal burnout. On the one hand, with Kundalini, you just may need to have more sleep. You may need to have more sleep, and she's slowing you down. The other thing is really that the adrenal burnout is she's using the energy in the adrenals in a different way. And if you've been using caffeine or high fructose corn syrups or some of these other things that stimulate you, constantly stimulate you all the time, 7 or 8 cups of coffee a day type of deal, and you're gonna have, and you deserve to have, a level of adrenal burnout. And so if you stop doing that and you allow those aspects within the adrenals to heal, you'll get your strength back, but you've got to give it some time. Now, have I written about it in different ways, Amelia, that you can recall?
No, Chrism, no, you haven't, that I can recall.
Okay.
So, will I go on to the next question?
Yes, please.
Okay, so you wrote an article about, that sex is a very important aspect of our lives and how the Kundalini will dominate our sexual expression. And there was some discussion on the groups about that. And somebody was saying, how to reduce lust during periods of increased libido. This person was going towards pornography and lustful thoughts. And can you speak about how a person can change that, transform that when the libido is strong?
From pornography?
Yeah,
what?
And
what's the
lustful
question?
thoughts.
Well, lustful
Excuse me?
thoughts. I need a clarity on your question. What's the question?
My question is how to reduce lust during periods of increased libido. I go towards pornography, lustful thoughts. How to transform or reduce that.
Stop. Okay. I don't need the rest of it. I just need the question.
There was no more.
Good. Somebody's phone. Is that your phone ringing? No.
No.
Okay. All right. Okay. To get through lustful thoughts, really, one really good way is through heavy exercise. Heavy exercise will help you get through lustful thoughts, and that doesn't mean you go to the gym where every beautiful woman there is wearing spandex and basically exercising and showing herself at the same time. You go out and maybe you do some hard work. Maybe you dig up the soil. Maybe you plant some seeds, things of that nature. Do some hard work. That will really help you a lot. Do not go to pornography. Do not stretch into pornography. Pornography is strewn with entities. In many ways, it's a very abusive type of sexual pastime. Don't go there. You need to really just buckle down and have the discipline not to respond. And this doesn't mean that you masturbate every 5 seconds either. Okay, that you may have to do that sometimes, but do try to limit how much that is done, because the Kundalini needs and requires the sexual fluids of both the male and the female. And I don't mean that mixed. I mean that the woman has sexual fluids the Kundalini uses for the same purpose that she uses the male sexual fluids. So both fluids are representative within the human body in both genders, and the Kundalini will pump those fluids back into the spinal cord and begin to make transformative changes based upon that. And so you need to really look at your priorities. Is your priority to go out and get laid as much as you can, or is your priority to surrender to the Kundalini, recognize that she is spiking your libido for a very specific reason, not responding to it in a masturbational way or a pornographic way, but surrendering to it and allowing her to have those fluids in the way that she wants to take them from you at any given time during the day or night. Okay, that's the way I suggest a person do it. Or, a modulation of both ways. Because I know that the person is going to need to express. I understand that the expression is, it's a huge need. It's a huge desire. But it's not a desire that cannot be controlled, and I really suggest people begin to control that if they are indeed experiencing that. Over.
Okay, thank you, Chrism. I have a question here about diet, but there's about 8 sentences. Can I read it?
8 sentences? Just ask me the question.
Past month or so, eating has become a sort of a burden for me. My body does not crave food at all. I am still eating, but barely and very small portions. I usually drink vegan smoothies because that's all my body wants. And even then, I feel a little sick afterwards. I'm usually strictly vegan, but I started to eat eggs now once or twice a week because I'm concerned that I'm not getting enough nutrients. I'm already very thin and I don't need to lose weight at all. It has me a little worried. I know it has to do with Kundalini, and I'm going to assume that for now it will eventually pass. Has anyone else experienced this?
I think the first mistake is being vegan, number one. I think that is that's a false ego-driven dietary choice because they don't want to eat things that have eyes or that has a mommy, like every other creature on this world does. But okay, so the first mistake is being a vegan, number one. Number two, the nice thing that you're doing is you're starting to eat eggs. You're starting to expand your diet, and I suggest that you do that exponentially. And I suggest that you do it into the omnivore range rather than vegetarian or veganism. Kundalini typically wants a person to be omnivore, which goes against, I know, a lot of people's religious belief systems, and certainly the vegan people, it's got an eyes and a nose, and therefore it looks like Bambi, and of course I don't want to eat Bambi, and so, there's that. But, I would suggest the person continue to expand their diet, and that will begin to take care of the wasting disease that their veganism choice has given them. Over.
Okay, Chrism, thank you.
Now, I know, Santara, that you were a vegan at one time, correct?
For 2 years, I didn't eat. Yes, I was a vegan for 2 years. Yeah.
And why did you do that?
I didn't know. Well, I didn't know I was a vegan when I started. It's just Kundalini had me give up. I stopped eating things like dairy. I just couldn't eat it anymore. And then I realized I was eating as a vegan would eat. And that's so.
Okay.
But it was Kundalini, yeah.
Well, as long as it's Kundalini, then that's the way to go.
Because then
Continue.
She suddenly, after a certain period of time, had me eating fish again. So.
Yeah. Continue.
No, that's all, Chrism. No more questions.
Well, okay. All right. Well, okay. So, and it doesn't look like we have any more questions in the chat room. Well, I would like to thank you, Amelia Santara, and I'd like you to give you have an opportunity for any last words.
No last words. Just glad you got on, Chrism, and see everybody again at the same time next week.
I'm very grateful for starting the show. Thank you for starting the show, Amelia Santara, and I want to say thank you to Elizabeth and Miranda and Jeannie and Minnesota, and then everybody in the chat room. Hello, I see you all, and thank you everybody for sticking with me, even though I couldn't start the show. It's a pleasure to serve in this way. And I'll end the show like I should have started it. Here we are.
Hey Schatz, Lust auf eine Runde Stadt, Land, Fluss?
Okay, aber ich fahr.
sorgt auch bei Ihnen für jede Menge Spaß. Das Skoda Dieselversprechen für Euro 6 Diesel. Damit sorgen wir dafür, dass Sie, egal was die Zukunft bringt, in Fahrt bleiben, auch in Ihrer Stadt. Und das Beste, wer jetzt seinen alten Diesel gegen einen neuen Skoda Diesel eintauscht, erhält von uns einen Bye-Bye-Bonus von bis zu 7.500 €. Mehr beim teilnehmenden Skoda-Partner oder unter skoda.de/Dieselversprechen. Skoda. Simply clever.